All right, my mic is on, that's good. I'm Sasha Pfeiffer from WBUR, and I'm pretty excited for this panel because you're gonna hear very different views on what the future holds. So we have here, and we've talked a lot about the right order in which to bring our speakers up, and we've decided that you should probably hear from the optimists first about the future, and then we'll go to the pessimist. So the most optimistic person we have here is David Rose, sitting in the center. He has written a book called Enchanted Objects. Right next to me is our pessimist. This is Nick Carr. And on the far side is Andy McAfee. He's the other optimist. Now, Andy and David are colleagues at MIT. David, in the middle, his whole work has basically been focused on how we make the physical environment interface with the digital environment. It's sort of human-machine interface. So in David's mind, he looks at his house, and the whole thing is an untapped app store. You know, he thinks, why isn't my umbrella glowing if it's going to rain later today so I know to take it with me? Why aren't my pills somehow notifying me when it's time to take them? David is an instructor at the MIT Media Lab. He is the CEO at Ditto Labs, which is an image recognition software sort of company that scans social media photos for potential for brands and products.
It's truly evil.
Say that again?
It's truly evil.
He was previously the CEO of Vitality. It's a company that reinvented medication packaging. You'll now find it at Express Scripts and CVS and Walgreens. And he founded a company called Ambient Devices, which pioneered glanceable technology, where you're embedding the internet into everyday things like mirrors and so forth. Think Google Glass, potentially, I'm imagining. So this is David. We're going to hear the most optimistic view from David. Coming up next will be Andy McAfee on the far side. He's an MIT colleague of David. And Andy's work basically focuses on how information technology affects businesses, how they operate, how they compete, how computerization affects society. He's incredibly positive. You know, many people think we're in this period of economic stagnation. They think the more we computerize, the more that takes away jobs. Unlike the first machine age, say steam engines, where it increased productivity, increased wages, increased employment, many people think the opposite is happening. Andy doesn't think so. He thinks we're on the cusp of an explosion of what digital technology can do for the economy. Nick here, our techno-pessimist, I just want to tell you the name of one of his essays, and I think this will sum up Nick's attitude. Nick wrote an article called, "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And that, I think, sums up Nick's view of this. He writes about technology and culture. You could have read him in New York Times, The Atlantic, Wired, The Guardian, The New Republic, MIT Tech Review. His work has been included in anthologies like the Best American Science and Nature Writing. And I can't not note that in Nick's bio, he also says that in the early 1980s, he was a founding member of the universally unnoticed Connecticut punk band called the Adrenaline Boys. So before they begin speaking, I just want to give you a sense of some of the behind-the-stage banter we were having. When Andy and, now these guys all know each other pretty well, and when Andy and Nick saw each other, Andy said that he and Nick have been disagreeing for more than a decade. Nick also describes, Andy also describes Nick as a walking bummer. So we're going to start you out with the positive, which is David. He just has this, there's no pessimism in David's view. Andy's a bit more moderated, and then we're going to hear the gloom and doom scenario from Nick. So David, why don't you start us off? And David is the author of Enchanted Objects.
Well, I wanted to start by showing you an image of my living room. So I brought a little video that was actually done by the New York Times that I just was going to play. It's a couple of minutes, and that will illustrate many of the products that I talk about in the book.
Enchanted objects are ordinary things that have the same functionality that they had before, except now they can talk. They're connected. These are ordinary things that have extraordinary capabilities.
When we're creating technology for the home, really we want to make something that's seamless and transparent, and that as opposed to having things sort of call out and draw your attention to it, make it a more ambient experience.
We'll just continue to behave with those everyday objects as we do in the world, and we can remain focused on connectivity between two people.
What we're seeing now is this proliferation of different devices that are, moving out from the cell phone and onto our bodies and into the world.
So in the middle of our living room is a coffee table that has Google Earth embedded in the coffee table. And I just found that having access to this amazing zoomable map completely changes how often we talk about travel and how often we talk about the world and how often we look up places that are mentioned. And it's nice to have this beautiful large reference object sitting in the middle of our living space. Our devices can be a lot simpler and the interaction to them can be a lot simpler. The internet connected umbrella can just be an umbrella that only shows whether it's going to rain. You don't need to tap on an icon or do anything that seems sort of artificial.
We come from a time in which we need to adapt to our homes and not the other way around. So what if our home could be a platform that we personalize and we customize? The key is how do we create this ecosystem, these technologies that allow us to move from one experience to the other in the most seamless, most magical way.
Some people might think that a connected home is overwhelming, that there'll be so much information in the connected home that it's just a cacophonous environment and you wouldn't want to live there. But I think about how we decorate our homes today. We put photographs everywhere, we put paintings up, we put Post-it notes up. There's a lot of decoration and adornment in the home. And I think if enchanted objects can be designed in the right way, we're going to want hundreds of them around us.
I think what we're going to see is a new renaissance where designers as well as computer scientists are going to really make a really big impact in the type of technology that we see in the home.
The history of computers has mostly been about efficiency. I think one of the things that's changing is that enchanted objects can be about adding motion and add magic to the fabric of our everyday lives and experiences.
So, isn't he cute, my son? So in the book I describe our relationship to technology and how there's a huge wave that's sweeping, that's taking technology from these glowing glass slabs that seem to be monopolizing our attention with a call and response back and forth. I mean, these things were designed in the age of, the interfaces for smartphones were designed in the ages where we had DOS prompts. We do something, and the computer does something back to you, and then you do something. And there's a huge opportunity now to have devices that all have a little bit of technology in them, a little bit of artificial intelligence that can really simplify our relationship to technology, as you could see in terms of the embedded pill bottle caps and desks and furniture and jewelry and all the things that will have embeddedness. I hope you appreciate that these, from the examples that I showed, that this will impact health in a positive way, can help impact transportation in a positive way, impact housing. Do you see the apartment, the sort of city home apartment that we're working on at MIT? It had like a big wall that's like a furniture dispenser. So your bed comes out and a table comes out, and so all these space hogs that you had before can now be sort of nested away, so you can live downtown in New York or Singapore or Boston for less than $1.3 million, which is the cost of square footage today. So I guess the second part of the book that is illustrated in this poster, which I brought for you all, is a way to think about what should we make now that technology is affordable enough and small enough to embed in everything. And I made this periodic table of enchantment and divided up the things that we could embed technology in based on human desires. So I go back to fairy tales and spy culture and comic books and think about, well, what are human aspirations that could be satisfied with new technology? So I talk about objects for omniscience. About half of these are real and available, and about half of them are prototypes from the Media Lab and other places. So our desire to be all-knowing, our desire to be for human-to-human connection, like that little Skype cabinet that my 6-year-old can talk to my parents who are in Wisconsin like as often as they want to. I don't have to set up a Skype connection or call my parents. They just open the portal and the other person is there.